Welcome back, everyone, to Ludus Infinium. Today we will be doing the sixth part of Horus Rising, the first book in the Horus Heresy. If you like the content, leave a like, share it around with your friends. If you want to see more of my 40k lore or my RPG RTS gameplay videos, then subscribe to the channel and check out my playlist. That being said, let's get into it. We start off with Tarek Torgadon and Garvey Loken meeting up on their way to Garvey Loken's first war meeting as a member of the mournival. And Torgadon gives him a bit of a heads up. Just keep an eye out for a question. It won't be directed at you, but keep a lookout for it. And they meet up with Aximand and Abaddon to go into the War Council chambers on the Strategium deck. And Aximand asks, well, what took y'all so long? Oh, nothing, just making sure that Loken had gotten Vipus set in to his new command position. And Loken at that point realized that Torgadon's heads up was just for his ears only. They go in and they see all these other officials, be it the head of the Astropaths, Vox Communication, the head of the Imperial Navy in their expeditionary fleet, all these different people. And when they do go in, Aximand, Loken, and Torgadon stay in the shadows, and Abaddon goes around the main area to show his position as first captain, because at this point he still speaks as first captain, not as a member of the mournival. We also see Loken's, I don't know a good word for it, insecurity about his new position with the mournival. He wonders if he'll ever get used to it, and Torgadon says, no, you won't. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you will. You get used to it after a while. But it shows that, I talked about this in a couple of the other videos, it shows that even though they are superhuman, they still have human qualities, and this is some of the best written Astartes material that I've seen. When asked about how long it would take to bring 6319 into compliance, the head of the Imperial Army said true compliance would take months. To which Horus says, okay, we'll stay here till it's done. Unless someone else can think of something. And this is when Loken pipes up and says, well, if the true cause was to bring the world into compliance, then the Astartes have already failed. And since I was the first one in, I'll take 10th Company and I'll take care of the rest of the resistance. And so we see that this is the question that Torgadon had told Loken about at the very beginning. And also that Loken is not already came into his place as a member of the mournival, but it's showing that he's progressing into it and that he's more willing to speak his mind and say what he needs to say to get stuff done and say it honestly. During the War Council meeting, Horus says, okay, now that we've got that situated, what are we going to do for our next step when we're done here? Now, normally I would be the one to present this to you, but someone else has come forward and wants to present it themselves. To which we are reintroduced to Malikhurst, who is also called the Twisted. He was the second embassy group sent in a shuttle to 6319, and it got shot down. Everyone believed he had died, and thanks to Euphrates Keela and her pictures, it helped kind of cement his image as the wounded hero. And he was eventually nursed back to health, although he was, to my knowledge, and I haven't gotten very far in the book series, but as far as I've gotten, he has gotten permanently disfigured. So he goes through the options of the different planets they could go to, and then brings up at the end of it that something that's been brought to his attention is that his assistants have told people that they've been telling people to stop calling him the Twisted. And the reason he got this nickname is because he's the equerry to Horus, and he handles a lot of the political stuff, and he's really hard to get along with, and he's just kind of a twisted person in a very figurative sense. But now that he's physically twisted, his assistants are saying, no, 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 this isn't right, it's not an okay thing to do. And he gets up and he says, no, I like the name. I would be more insulted if you stop calling me the Twisted to spare my feelings. And it really shows the kind of character he has, and he accepts who he is, and he's not willing to back down from it. After the meeting, Abaddon and the other members of the mournival go up to Loken and share their approval of his solution. And Abaddon offers up the Justaran squad, which are the elite Terminator-wearing armor of the First Company. And Loken says, no, this is 10th Company's business. We got it. To which Abaddon says, okay, I'll let him know he is superfluous to what we need. To which Loken responds, no, please don't do that, fearing that he had offended either Abaddon or the Justarans. To which everyone starts laughing at him again, because Abaddon again made a joke at Loken's expense. I want to point this out. And because I'm going through the first 3 books, because those are the 3 main ones that I want to get through and do serious hardcore videos on. The ones I want to go through right now. And then of course I'll go to 4, 5, and 6. But in the first 3 books, you can see where Abaddon changes over time. And it is relatively gradual, but you still see it. And that's what's really cool, because he goes from he does have this almost bloodthirst about him, but it gets worse and worse and worse. And that's why in 40K he's just a dick. I mean, honestly, he really is. And I really hate seeing that, because he's so cool in the first 2 books. He starts becoming a dick really at the end of the second, beginning of the third. But he's so amazing in the first book, and about the first half to 2/3 of the second, and it's so well, because you see his place, and it's so cool to see. We also see him approached by the general of the Imperial Army. And one of the things about Loken suggesting that, we didn't finish the job, so it's our job to go back down there and make sure we do it right this time. It also isn't stepping on the toes of the Imperial Army. And it not only that, it also allows them to be gracious, like, oh, the Astartes are offering to help us. So it also shows the political side of it as well, which is something that I find really cool in the first couple of books. Is you see a lot of the politics going around and a lot of the intrigue, and it's very fascinating looking at it. It's one of those things where you can make parallels to our world, and then there are times when it is something that you could just see in 40K, and it's just a really cool concept. So we see another interesting conversation going on between Garvey Loken and First Captain of the Imperial Fists, Sigismund. he basically says, the Great Crusade's got to end sometime, where Sigismund disagrees, and he emphatically believes that the Crusade keeps expanding out and they keep finding new and new worlds, and even if they bring every world into compliance, then they'd still have to protect them. And the further out they get, the more chance of something from the center coming apart. So it's just going to be either constant fighting or it'll be constant fighting either way, but it'll either be constant fighting against outward forces or having to come back and bring worlds back into compliance if they fall out of compliance. And this is the start of when Garvey Loken really starts thinking against a lot of the stuff he does. Where for the longest time he's like, yeah, it'll end eventually, and he just all of a sudden just like, oh, hey, wait a minute, no. And it shows where he's kind of, as much as I'd say it this way, he's the thinker of the group. After this conversation happens, the Primarch Dorn of the Imperial Fist pulls Loken to the side and ends up talking to him, and mentions that he also supported Loken as the newest addition to the mournival. The other two choices they had, one would just agree for the sake of status, and the other was too battle hungry and bloodthirsty, very similar to Abaddon, where Loken would even things out. And he also mentions to him, like, that's also part of why I mentioned you, is that way, just be yourself. Just, you're the one that's gifted with being able to look at things from multiple angles. And Loken's like, oh, so like a Naismith, as he talked about with Kirill Sinderman. And he says, exactly like that. And with that final note, that's actually where they leave off on this part, and that's where I will leave off as well. I hope you all enjoyed. Again, if you like the content, leave a like, share it around. And if you want to see more of my RTS or RPG videos or more of my 40k lore videos, subscribe to my channel and check out my playlists. That being said, I will see everybody tomorrow. Bye!